Chair recognizes the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Palazzo, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Administrator, for appearing here today. My questions today are offered in the context of my continued frustration that NASA seems to be an agency without a clear mission. As we wrap up the shuttle program and send the orbiters to museums, we so too lose expertise and a skilled workforce to other opportunities. It is sad that some of those opportunities are outside of the aerospace industry. Meanwhile, our access to the ISS is limited to the Russians, a reliable partner, but not without concerns after this last fall's launch mishaps. And I wonder what our European partners feel about our future human programs when they see our schizophrenic nature in mission planning. After 50 years of leadership in human spaceflight, this heralded agency faces the question of what's next. It's my commitment as chairman of the Space and Aeronautics Subcommittee that we come together to advance common worthwhile goals and protect America's legacy of space leadership. Having said that, I would like to ask you a few specific questions. Sure. Mr. Administrator, I'm extremely pleased with the critical role the Stennis Space Center has in support of SLS, COTS, and CCDEV, but I want to make sure those investments are comparable to the investment in resources and infrastructure at the Kennedy Space Center. Stennis's role is prior to flight, and there seems to be a disparity in investment. Can you speak to that?
Congressman, Stennis is playing a critical role right now, and they are doing something that the Kennedy Space Center is not doing, and that's test firing on a routine basis. We have quite a bit of activity going on at Stennis, and that required us to make investments in upgrading the test stands, and I think we are doing that. We have been able to attract not only interest from the traditional engine manufacturers, but now some of the newcomers. So I think our investment in Stennis is doing exactly what we want to do and bringing benefit to the area in terms of testing that we're doing.
Okay, so the concern is that the investment in Kennedy is not going to get so far ahead because there is some additional investment that needs to go into Stennis for the 21st century launch complex.
Congressman, you heard me say once before when we were both together for the anniversary at Stennis, and I didn't make this up. I've heard it. All roads to space lead through Stennis. And that is a true statement because we don't fly an engine that hasn't been tested at the Stennis Space Center. So my development of test stands or my upgrade of test stands has to pace the development of the vehicles that we're planning to fly at Kennedy. So 21st century launch facility, the exploration ground systems, we're trying to pace all of that such that we end up with a system, all of its integral parts coming together at the same time. I think you're very aware. J2X is something that, while we won't need it for a number of years, we're trying to get some testing behind us on the J2X. If I weren't worried about that, I'd say, okay, let's hold off for a few years before we test J2X. I don't think that'd be prudent because, you know, we probably would not be able to find any problems that we may have with it, and it would not be ready when we need it. So I think the answer to your question is we are trying to pace the improvements, the construction, and the development at all of our centers such that everything keeps pace and comes together. In the case of SLS MPCV in 2017, when we fly our first uncrewed launch.
So parallel paths.
Yes, sir.
Same point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, I've seen in the news media reports that NASA is making investments in other agency rocket test stands at the expense of the agency's primary rocket test facility at Stennis. Are you approving those investments at other centers?
Congressman, I am not aware of an investment that we're making in another agency test stand. I will take that. I'll take that for the record.
Plum Brook, $150 million investment.
But that is our test facility, right. And that investment is one of long standing. It is not. This is not a new budget item or a new investment. It has been ongoing, and we are just trying to make sure that Plum Brook is ready when it's time to take, whether it's Orion or any other vehicle there, that it will be ready to test.
So you don't think that's a duplication of test facility?
No, they're totally different. Okay. Plum Brook and Stennis. Plum Brook is a vacuum it's a chamber that we can simulate conditions in space for a vehicle itself, whereas Stennis, as you know, is a facility where we simulate the operating conditions of an engine. So totally different.
Mr. Administrator, I appreciate it. My time's expired. I yield back.